Hello Internet, my name is Madison Lee, Maddie if we're friends, Mad Dog if you're nasty, and today I'll be showing you how I created my Final Fantasy VII Inkwork. I'm going to try to create a scene that encompasses to me the general vibes of Final Fantasy VII, so I think diesel punk, I think a bit mystical, I think very beautiful characters, and I'm thinking trauma. The first thing I'm going to do is create my sketch. I do this on the iPad because I can move things around super duper easy. I want a quote at the bottom, I want flowers, obviously Aerith's flowers, the white materia nestled in there, juxtaposed by the diesel punk bottom of Midgar, the plate, and Genova's face burrowed in there. I'm having Cloud and Aerith holding hands in the center because it's my drawing and I can do what I want, and feathers floating around. Again, this is just for me, so I add some notes for myself in red, and then I'm ready to start the party. So for this tutorial, I'm showing you how I would go about creating the piece from start to finish, and I'm not really slowing down for any of the steps. In later videos, I'm going to show you how to render figures and bodies and anatomy and whatnot, but I will share that at this point I'm using figure in the stone technique. So that is, imagine you're carving the details out of a block of stone. You want to add in the space in the drawing that things are going to inhabit. So Genova's head at this point is an egg. And then I go in and I add more details and I refine it. So that gives you the space to look at the way the shapes interact. I always say that rather than focusing on how to draw one thing, or how do I do hands, how do I do chairs, how do I do all that kind of stuff, figure in the stone technique is more focused on how do I draw a shape. And when you take drawing down to the studs, you're just drawing shapes. So if you can make them interact in a way that looks credible within the style you're working in, then that's half the battle. And when I say credible, I mean, like, imagine Jack Skellington. He's not necessarily anatomically correct, but within his world, he looks like he fits, he looks like he works. So that's what you have to think about if you're working in a more stylized way. Maybe the figures aren't necessarily completely refined, but if they suit the world and the story that you're trying to tell, that's what you're going for. That's what you want to prioritize. So here you can see that I've added some squiggles and stuff where I want the chords and lines to be. And now I'm ready to do my inks. I use a few different pens. For this one I use the Unipin Fine Liner. As long as it's water and fade proof, I'll use the Sakura Micron. My favourite is the Rotring Isograph. It's a refillable pen and a little bit more sturdy. It is on the pricey side, and if you wanted to get into Rotring, the Rotring Tiki, Tikky, is a really good starting point. I'm not sponsored by them, but I'm definitely open to it. I use the measurements of 0.01 to 0.05 for faces, and then I'll use a 0.1 to 0.2 to 3 for different details. Now you can see I've moved on to the Rotring. They're just a little bit more durable. I have broken a few in my day, but I'm a little bit hardcore. My inking will generally take anywhere from 10 to 40 hours depending on the piece, although I have done 200-hour Inkworks. It's the most time-consuming part, and it's the part that I love the most. You can do lots with texturing and shapes. It's refillable and rechargeable, and it saved my wrist and bones and everything more times than I can count with client work where people want you to stipple, but it's a lot of stippling in a short amount of time. So you can see I rendered the whispers here with the stippling pen, and then I moved on to more details. So I wanted all of my details to be coming from Genova, so in that sense I used 1 point perspective coming from her neck, just where it disappears into Cloud's head, because I want everything in the piece to visually point toward them and wrap around them. So the whispers are wrapping around them, the roof of Midgar's wrapping around them, and then I wanted to add a couple little extra things. I wanted to have a nod to the end of the game without major spoilers, so I had Aerith in the forest. I wanted to add the forest coming out of the mechanized roof of Midgar as a little bit of a midway between the more urban lines and the flowers at the bottom. And for the bark, I used a 0.5mm pen to create more of a scribbly effect on the bark to differentiate those lines. And then I moved on to the foreground and used a different medium to differentiate that again. In general, I like to use dip pens for more graphic novel work, but I wanted the lines of the flowers to feel a little bit more flowy than the line work in the background so that nothing blended together. You have to be really, really careful when you're predominantly an ink artist that you don't lose the forest for the trees. And often I'll like to do that with changing up my medium. So that might mean adding some watercolour into the background, which we'll be doing later to make it a little bit darker, or it could mean changing a medium completely. Here's a little more of the process as the work began to take shape, with the trees giving a little bit of an in-between section between the sections of Midgar top and the flowers at the bottom. I always like to make sure that I'm not losing my focal point too much and mixing up my pen lines so that I don't get too much of a scribbly or same effect throughout the piece. To differentiate the different areas even more, I added watercolour. I use my Gansai Tenbi watercolours. I love them so much. I have this beautiful set. It feels super special every time I open them. And I like that they have a little bit of a stickiness about them. They don't dry powdery, which some watercolours tend to do. All I'm doing is a very, very, very light watercolour grey to differentiate the background to the foreground. So you can see that makes a difference already. I then put a few little opalescents on the tip of the brush and spray it all around, and then I have the gold in the flowers. I added some gold accents with a gold marker. I didn't like the white at the bottom around the quote, so I ended up painting it black and then writing on top of it, again with that marker. But wait, there's more! I got out the UV paints because I wanted a little extra secret and a nod to the original game. So I put a hidden artwork in there. I used the models from the original game as Cloud and Aerith appear. Can you tell I love them? And then I made it so they glow in the dark. So I applied the outline first and then, trying to keep it as light and as uniform as possible, added in the insides so that when the lights go out, Cloud and Aerith, as they appear in the original game, are right there waiting for you. And they're holding hands because it's my drawing, and you still can't stop me from doing what I want. You can charge this paint up with a UV light, but it just comes out glow in the dark. So like any glow in the dark thing, it charges with ambient light. So if you just have the artwork hanging, then when the lights go off, Cloud and Aerith will appear in the dark, just like this. And there you have it. This is a story that has persisted across time and consoles and mediums, not just because it's a banger game and one of the best RPGs ever made, but because its core of identity and human defiance and resilience echoes across time and is particularly poignant in 2026. With AI slop and data centers popping up like Mako reactors, we need to be resilient. And maybe we can't all be Avalanche because it's illegal, but we can continue to create, to grow, to shift, to evolve, to enjoy each other and the world and fight for what we believe in every little way. So keep fighting, keep making, and show me what you made. If you created a Final Fantasy VII artwork, or you tried your hand at any of the techniques in this video, I want to see. Contact me. I want to see. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. If you are interested in more behind the scenes content, or want to join my print club, get a print of this artwork, or buy the original, you can head over to my Patreon. I do lots of other things on Patreon. It's a blast. You're not on Patreon yet? God, hop over. See you next time.